Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I was scraping pancake batter off the stove with the edge of a spatula when the landline rang. We keep the landline because Samantha likes the idea that in an emergency there's a phone that doesn't depend on a battery. I like it because I can hear it from the backyard. It almost never rings, and when it does it's usually a fundraiser for the high school band or someone asking about extending our car warranty. The caller ID said Kate Cell, and I let the spatula clatter into the sink. "Hey," I answered, the hello writing a little too fast. Kate doesn't call the landline. "Ethan, are you home?" Her voice was in that tight, careful register people use when they are trying not to wake a sleeping baby that doesn't exist. "I'm here," I said, looking toward the living room where Leo had the TV volume set to the exact number I tell him not to set it to. "What's up?" "Can you go to the office?" she asked. "Right now?" Something in my chest went cold and steady. We don't have the kind of office people on TV have, no French doors, no leather chair. It's the little room off the hallway that used to be a nursery and now holds a desk, a too-old printer, and a houseplant I keep forgetting to rotate. Samantha uses it for Zoom calls on days she works from home. Her laptop sits on the desk like a person who plans to come back soon. She had left that morning to stay with a friend overnight, self-care night, she called it, wine, Netflix, a break from laundry. I said have fun and meant it. I have never been good at telling people no when they ask for breaks. "Why?" I asked Kate, already walking. "Just go," she said. "I'm with Leo." I turned the corner and saw the glow before I saw the screen. The laptop was open, the lid propped by a notepad Samantha uses to write lists that are more like incantations, milk, stamps, paper towels, call dentist. The webcam light was on, a tiny green pinprick. On the screen, a video call window filled most of the space. It had that tidy border and the little buttons that let you pretend you can control things. Inside the window, without asking permission from any adult, was my wife's face. Close, soft lighting, the kind of light people get when they angle a lamp the right way. Her hair was down and not arranged the way it is when she's selling something to a client. She was laughing at something I couldn't hear. Beside her, angled in like a picture-in-picture that took up more of the picture than I wanted, was a man. I didn't know him. He was close enough that you could see the way the skin around his eyes didn't match his smile. "Ethan?" Kate said in my ear, smaller now, because my world had become very, very large and very, very narrow. "I see it," I said. "Leo was looking for cartoons," she said, the apology wrapped around every word like gauze. He clicked the icon with the camera because he thought it was a video app. It had connected. I didn't even know it could do that without a password. On the screen, Samantha leaned back as if to make room for the moment. The man moved closer. Samantha's hand rose, out of frame, then back in. The sound was off, mercifully, accidentally, so the scene performed like a silent film. Their mouths moved. Their bodies did the small choreography of people who have practiced this meeting, who have learned the angles of a camera and the limits of a field of view. I reached forward and moved the mouse, but my hand didn't land on the pad. It hovered and then retreated like a person touching a hot pan twice to be sure. The call timer in the corner told me this had been going on for 23 minutes and 41 seconds. Another little icon told me that someone on this end, Samantha, earlier, had not closed the app after a previous call, and that reconnection had been automatic. The kind of feature you appreciate when you're late to a meeting. The kind of bug that rearranges your life. "Do I hang up?" I asked, in the voice of a man asking directions in a town he's lived in for a decade. "No," Kate said. "I took a picture with my phone. I didn't mean to, I needed to, Ethan, I'm sorry." Leo saw her face and then saw him and he looked at me like I was supposed to explain gravity. Behind me, in the living room, the cartoon laughter dipped and rose. Leo's favorite superhero inevitable theme. He'd be waiting for Aunt Kate to bring snacks and say something about homework in the cheerful tone she uses when she's trying to trick him into doing math. He is 10 and knows more about robotics than I know about my own car. He is 10 and still asks for an extra blanket when he watches movies because he says it feels like armor. "I'm coming home," Kate said. I told him I forgot something in my apartment. "I'll be there in 5." "Okay," I said, and finally touched the mouse. I clicked end with a little more force than you need to click anything. The window disappeared politely, as if it had never sat there. The desktop picture returned, Leo at the pumpkin patch last October, holding a pumpkin far too heavy for him, grinning at me like we were both making a bad decision together. The green light went dark. There is a particular quiet that arrives after a sound you didn't know you were hearing stops. The room had that quiet. The house had it. The world, maybe. I walked to the living room and sat on the edge of the couch where the cushions have learned the shape of our family. Leo looked up, registered my face, and did the kid calculus of whether this was a pause the show moment. He pressed pause. He turned his body the way he turns it when he's bracing for a pitch he isn't sure he can hit. "And Kate called," I said. "She's swinging back." "She forgot her keys," he said, relieved to have something ordinary to hold. "Yeah," I said. "Something like that." Kate came in 4 minutes later, out of breath like she'd run a race no one had told her about. She glanced at me and then at Leo and put on the face that says we are adults and we can carry this for a minute. "Hey dude," she said, "I brought the fancy popcorn from the corner store. The one with the kettle corn and the caramel mixed together that your dad says is too much sugar but somehow eats half of." Leo smiled, because she was quoting him back to him. "Can we have it now?" he asked. "Yup," she said, and handed him the bag, and he ran to the kitchen like there was not a single problem in the world you couldn't solve with popcorn. She looked back at me. "You okay?" "No," I said. "But I'm here." She nodded. "Samantha texted me earlier that she might not be home until late. Should we?" "We're not going to play pretend," I said. "We're going to eat dinner and give Leo a bedtime that feels like a bedtime and not a punishment. And when she comes home, she's going to find the two of us sitting at the table like a meeting no one wanted to schedule." Kate exhaled, that small sharp breath a person lets out when the instructions are simple but not easy. "Okay." We made dinner exactly the way we make dinner when the day has been unkind, pasta with jarred sauce and a salad that is mostly an excuse to use croutons. Leo told us about the substitute teacher who says milk instead of milk and the kid who brought a tarantula for show and tell and how he wants to build a robot hand that can pick up eggs without breaking them. I told him that was more engineering than I do all week and that maybe he should run my next job site. Kate told him about the time his mom built a fort in the living room when they were kids and how their mother was upset until she realized they'd used every blanket in the house and the cat looked like a general inspecting troops. When Leo brushed his teeth, Kate stood in the doorway and did her aunt thing, jokes about toothpaste flavors, a reminder to floss that he ignored with an earnestness that would be charming if we weren't paying for dental insurance. I went back to the office and sat in the chair like it might have something to say. I opened the laptop and looked at the call log. The history was short and loud, the last call ended by me, a few earlier ones at times that matched the errands Samantha had taken this week, and a line that said auto-join that looked like a clever demon had signed a document on our behalf. At 9:11 p.m. The garage door hummed, the kind of mechanical, dependable sound that usually says home. Kate met my eyes. Leo was in bed with the door cracked and the nightlight projecting little stars on his ceiling like a cheap planetarium. I took the far chair at the kitchen table. Kate took the one beside me. We didn't orchestrate it. Some choreographies write themselves. Samantha came in wearing the sweater she wears when she wants to look like she didn't try. Her hair was pulled back, and there was a moment where I could imagine she was just my wife, coming home from a night of wine and shows, and we would trade the day like baseball cards. Then she saw our faces and put the keys down in the bowl so gently you'd think they were made of glass. "Hey," she said. "What's?" "You left your laptop open," I said. My voice startled me. It was as even as a level. The tiniest movement crossed her face, confusion, calculation, a flicker of fear. "Oh?" Leo clicked the camera, Kate said, the fact laid down on the table like a clean dish. "The app auto-joined a call. We saw you. With him." Samantha's hands went to her sides, straightened the sweater hem, then let go. She looked from me to Kate and then to the hall where Leo's nightlight sent faint green shapes into the dark. "He saw?" "He saw you," I said. "And he saw a man." She closed her eyes the way you close your eyes when a doctor shines a light in them. "Okay," she said, on a breath. "Okay." "I took a picture," Kate added softly. "I didn't want to. I needed to." "Good," Samantha said, without looking at her sister. Then, finally, to me, "I'm sorry." People have practiced apologies. You can hear the rehearsal in the way the syllables carry. This wasn't that. This was the thing that comes out when all the other words have failed to open the door. "How long?" I asked. "Since January," she said. "It started as messages. He's a parent from school. We kept seeing each other at drop-off and talking about stupid stuff, PTO fundraisers and broken printers and how the coffee at the corner shop is like mud but it's ours. I told myself I was making a friend because I was lonely in a way that sounded stupid to say out loud. It got more. And then I didn't stop it. And then I told myself I could keep it in a box." She swallowed. "I'm so sorry, Ethan." "What's his name?" I asked, though a part of me didn't want to know because names make things real. She said it. It fit the shape of a man's face you see at school concerts and don't notice twice. Ordinary is sometimes the most dangerous category. "Is he married?" Kate asked, and it came out more clinical than cruel. "Yes," Samantha said. "He says it's complicated." "It always is," Kate said, because she has learned what sentences do not require a fresh adjective. I leaned forward and put my hands flat on the table because my hands needed a surface that didn't move. "No more lyrics," I said. "Just nouns. Did Leo see anything besides your faces?" "No," she said quickly, almost grateful. "We weren't, it was just talking." He clicked in and I didn't even realize at first, and then the angle shifted and I saw the little box in the corner and she stopped and looked like she might be sick. I hung up. I panicked. I called him back from my phone like that would fix the physics of what had already happened. I nodded. The kettle on the stove ticked as it cooled, a domestic metronome. "Here's what's going to happen tonight," I said. "You're going to sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow you're going to tell him it's over and you're going to copy me. You're going to write to the school counselor and ask for a meeting about how to make sure this doesn't make the playground a war zone for our kid. You're going to tell the truth to the extent that it keeps our son from doing your emotional labor." Samantha nodded, tears running the way tears run when a person has stopped trying to keep their face pretty. "Yes," she said. "I'll do all of that." "And you're going to tell Leo you're sorry," Kate said, gentle and brutal in the way good family is. "You're not going to ask him to forgive you. You're not going to promise that it will be the same. You're going to tell him the one thing that matters, that he is safe, and this is not his fault." Samantha looked at her sister like they were girls again in a room with posters and a shared mirror. "Okay," she said. "Okay. We didn't sleep much." That's a sentence that is less dramatic than honest. I lay in our bed with a space beside me that did not warm up. Samantha lay down the hall in the guest room where the sheets are always a little too starch crisp and the lamp is too bright. Kate took the couch because she didn't want to go home and leave the house with just quiet in it. In the morning, Leo woke up with his hair wilder than physics and stood in the doorway of the kitchen like a person approaching a wild animal. Samantha sat at the table with her hands around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked like a woman waiting for a verdict. Leo looked at me. I nodded. He came forward. "Mom," he said, voice small but not breakable. "Hey, baby," she said, and winced at her own choice. "Leo. I'm sorry." She didn't get up. She didn't reach for him. She didn't perform the apology like a hug. "I did a bad thing that hurt Dad and hurt you. It's not your job to fix it. It's not your fault that you saw it. I love you. You are safe." He nodded, jaw tight. "Okay," he said. Then he added, like a boy who has stood under a heavier thing than he should at 10, "I don't want him to come to school." "He won't," I said, before Samantha could. "He's not part of our family." Samantha nodded quickly. "He won't," she repeated. "I'll make sure." Leo went to the pantry and pulled out cereal and poured it with the caution of someone doing chemistry. He ate standing at the counter. He asked if he could ride his bike after school. He put his bowl in the sink without being asked. He picked up his backpack and his courage. He didn't hug anyone. Some mornings, love looks exactly like a kid putting his dishes away. After drop-off, Samantha wrote the email to the man. It was not poetic. It did not contain a single metaphor. It said, "Do not contact me again. This ends now." She copied me. He replied with a paragraph of apology so polished I could see the workshop in the sentences. I wrote back, "No contact," and blocked the number at the carrier level like I was repairing a fence. She also wrote to the school counselor, Ms. Alvarez, who looks like a person you want to tell the truth to in a hallway and who has a way of asking questions that pull out clear answers like splinters. I joined the meeting because Leo is my son and because I needed to look someone in the eye and say, if any of this touches him at school, I will set the world on fire and then rebuild it nicer. Ms. Alvarez nodded like that was a normal sentence and said she would be in touch with the other family to make sure grown-ups did their jobs out of earshot. I called a therapist. I have never been a man who thought therapy was weakness, but I have been a man who thought I could think my way out of feelings. I can't. We met Mara on Friday at 4. Her office had 3 chairs and a rug that said "You are here" in a subtle pattern, which is both corny and correct. She let me be angry without handing me a grenade. She let Samantha be sorry without handing her a halo. She asked me to choose 2 non-negotiables and 3 things I could live with for 90 days. I wrote them down because writing is the only way my brain believes me. No contact. Total transparency. Dinner at the table twice a week. Phones in the bowl. Leo is not our therapist. Kate came by that night with takeout from the place that always forgets the extra sauce and, more importantly, with the kind of humor that keeps a house from getting moldy. She told us about the time Samantha sent a Valentine to the wrong boy in 7th grade and how their mother pretended it was a practice run. Samantha laughed and then cried and then laughed again, and Leo rolled his eyes in that generous way kids do when they are allowing adults to be messy in their presence. There are the practical things you don't think about until you have to. I changed the Wi-Fi password because it mattered to me that the network in our house not carry old ghosts. I moved the laptop to the office and closed the lid like a closing ceremony. I set screen time on Leo's tablet the way I should have months ago. I put a sticky note on the router that says "We're not hiding, we're designing," which is a thing Mara said that I liked enough to make ugly with my handwriting. On Sunday, my parents came over and pretended to need help moving a dresser so they could hug Leo without asking why his eyes looked older. My dad fixed a cabinet door that has been quietly begging for attention for 2 years. My mom stood with Samantha in the backyard and did that mother thing where she asks about nothing and everything until the person in front of her remembers they have a spine. When they left, they didn't say "We're here if you need us," which is a sentence I'm starting to resent. They said, "We're bringing soup Wednesday," which is the sentence I want to hear for the rest of my life. The man didn't contact Samantha again. His wife sent me an email 3 days later that contained the sharpest kind of grace: "I'm sorry. I'm taking care of my house. Take care of yours." I replied, "You too." There is a brotherhood and sisterhood of people who have had their homes rearranged by someone else's boredom. It is not a club you want to join. Once you're in, you learn the secret handshake quickly. Leo started answering Samantha's texts with single words: "Okay, yes, no, later." The first time he added "thanks," she sat in the car in our driveway and cried for a full minute before coming inside and pretending she had allergies. We didn't correct the performance. Sometimes you let the show be the way a person walks back into the room they set on fire. I don't know the end. Every time I try to decide, it feels like I'm punishing a future version of me who might know more. What I know is this: the day the call connected by accident, the world changed its incline. What was flat became a hill. We're climbing it. Some days the hill is gentle. Some days it burns. Most days it's just there, and you put one foot in front of the other and carry a backpack you didn't pack. Tonight, Leo will finish his homework and ask if we can ride bikes after dinner, and I will say yes because saying yes to that is a kind of vow. Samantha will set her phone in the bowl without being asked. Kate will text a picture of an ugly lamp at a thrift store and ask if we want it and I will say absolutely not, and she will buy it anyway and leave it on our porch like a prank we deserve. I will check the locks twice because it helps. I will go to bed knowing that honesty is not a cure, it's a road. And in the morning, I will make pancakes, and I will not let the batter burn, and I will answer the landline if it rings. And if it doesn't, I will still be here, a man with a list, A boy with a bike, a house with a guest room that might not be a guest room forever. We are not fine. We are not finished. We are, for now, a family doing the most boring, sacred work there is, showing up, telling the truth, and teaching a kid that even on the days the grown-ups break the rules still hold. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.